Namaskar, this is Indian Express newspaper and you're watching TNA. This is a newspaper of December 1, 2022. This can surprise you, but this is a revision video. So if you have already read the newspaper, then this will be a revision for you. And if you haven't the newspaper, by chance you have missed it because of lack of motivation, you didn't get the time, or you were just lazy to read, you can start it now, and I'll make sure that I complete the series of December, January, February and March, and then maybe by end of the March I'll complete all of them, and with April we'll read parallel with the date that will be as of today. So I'll start with the first headline, which is high input prices hurt manufacturing, pull down Q2 GDP to 6.3%. This is economy news. So this is about Q2 GDP. Q2 is July, August and September. So why this GDP has fallen down to 6.3%, which was not expected, obviously, because of the manufacturing sector. This is high input prices. So if input is high, then output prices will be high and the product will be costly. So this has hurt the manufacturing sector. Then global headwinds slowing exports may hurt growth in the next 2 quarters. So if global resistance will be there and exports will be slower, as you know, India is very weak in exports, this can hurt growth in the next 2 quarters. Government expect corporate investment to pick pace. So government expect that some foreign or private money will be invested in the economy and this will give momentum to it. Indian economy grew slower than expected at 6.3% in July-September quarter this year, as the output of mining and manufacturing sector recorded a contraction. So this is because this output of both mining and manufacturing sector has recorded a contraction, reflecting. And why this has seen contraction? This contraction reflects the impact of high input prices. So if I've already explained, if input is high, then output price will be high and the product will be costly, and lower growth of SMEs, which is small and medium enterprises. This is according to data released by National Statistical Office. The real GDP has grown 13.5% in the previous April, May, June quarter and 8.4% in July to September 2021, which is previous year. So in the previous quarter it was 13.5% and in previous year it was 8.4%. This time it is 6.3. So that is why it was not expected, and this growth is very low. The GDP data seems to suggest that July-September growth has picked up momentum after the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. This shows that obviously it has taken momentum from COVID-19 pandemic, but not as much as it was expected, with the agriculture and services sector recording growth of over 4% for the third consecutive quarter. So these two sectors, agriculture and services, these two have shown growth of over 4%, but not the mining and manufacturing sector. Experts, however, predict a slowdown in the third quarter. So this is second quarter, which is July to September, but there is a prediction that in the third quarter, because of global headwinds, which mean resistance and slow export growth. So global headwinds means for example, supply chains are disrupted, or the raw material from foreign comes at high cost. Other factors, for example, tax, are um, at a very high percentage. So this will be a factor that will act as a global headwind and slow exports growth. India is a country where we import more and export less. So if this growth is slow, then there can be a slowdown in the third quarter too. Even as government officials said, a rebound is expected in manufacturing in the coming quarters. So rebound is expected. Government officials are saying that they expect this in manufacturing in the coming quarters, as firms that were reluctant to add inventory before the festive season have now witnessed steady demand. So why? Because firms means business firms that were reluctant to add inventory before the festive season have now witnessed steady demand. So that have seen a demand now, and thus are likely to show an improvement in output from here on. So because of, if demand is there, then obviously business will make, or you can say manufacture more. So if manufacturing is more, sale is more, then there will be an improvement. So this is why they have said that there will be improvement in output from here on. Among the 8 key sectors, agriculture recorded a GVA growth, gross value added growth. Among the 8 key sectors, agriculture recorded a GVA growth, which is gross value added GDP minus net product taxes, of 4.6% in July September. So this was GVA of 4.6% as against 3.2% growth in the year ago period. So agriculture has shown a growth from 3.2% to 4.6%. Trade, hotels and transport services recorded a GVA growth of 14.7%, while construction and financial services grew 6.6%. So construction and financial services grew 6.6% and 7.2% respectively. Manufacturing sector recorded contraction of 4.3%, while mining contracted by 2.8%. Two bright spots are private final consumption expenditure, which is a measure of consumption of goods and services by individuals. So how much the individual consume the goods and services. This is about private final consumption expenditure. This grew 9.7% year on year during July September. So this private final consumption expenditure, which is a measure of consumption of goods and services by individual, it grew 9.7% year on year during July September, while gross fixed capital formation, a proxy for investment activity. So how much investment has been done? This is a proxy for that. Gross fixed capital formation. So if some capital is formed, that means there is some investment that has occurred. So this can be a proxy for calculating this. So capital means if you have purchased any land, for example an industry is there and that industry has purchased some land or machine, it means that they have invested in their company. So this is about proxy for investment activity. This grew by 10.38%. The government expenditure, however, contracted. And why this has contracted? Because of lower non-interest revenue expenditure, even as the government has backed capital expenditure. So this has contracted 4.35% year on year because of low non-interest revenue expenditure, which means they have invested but not got any interest back. But government has supported capital expenditure, which means they will make logistical support, or you can say they can make roads or buildings or invest in capital, but not in non-interest revenue expenditure. So that is why government expenditure has been low. Now this has been continued on page number 4. High input prices hurt manufacturing, pulled down Q2 GDP to 6.3%. Chief Economic Advisor V. Anant Nageshwaran, he has said that real GDP growth is on track to be 6.8 to 7%. Okay, so he said that real